Good morning. Today is Thursday, May 28th, and this is our weekly COVID-19 update briefing. As of this morning, Bossier Parish has experienced 402 positive cases. That's an increase of 49 since last week, and unfortunately, we had an increase of 2 deaths. We're at 26 deaths now for the parish. One of the hottest topics we're all interested in right now as we approach phase 2 is what is going to be different. So I'll cover some of that for you. And the first thing we have to all be aware of is that only states and regions with no evidence of a rebound and the ones that satisfy gating criteria a second time can move to phase 2. So that gating criteria, you may recall, is such things as a downward trajectory of influenza or COVID-type symptoms and positive tests and so on. But only states and regions that have met these things will be eligible to move into phase 2. In phase 2, all vulnerable individuals should continue to shelter in place, and all individuals should continue to use physical distancing in public. And for people, generally, the criteria is 6 feet between people, and for tables, it's 10 feet between them. In social settings, it should not exceed 50 people or more. Non-essential travel can resume. Employers should encourage telework, and employees should consider closing common areas or enforce strict social distancing. Employees are strongly encouraged to have special accommodations for the vulnerable population, and of course that's defined as persons 65 years or older and people with existing medical conditions, respiratory and other type diseases that make them more vulnerable. Some of the specific types of employers in phase 2 can resume activities, such things as the daycares and camps, for example, can open. Visits to senior care facilities, such as hospitals, should be prohibited. Not mandatory, but should be prohibited. Large venues, such as sit-down dining, movie theaters, sporting venues, and places of worship can operate under moderate physical distancing. Elective surgeries can resume on an outpatient basis in phase 2. Bars may open, but with diminished standing room occupancy. Recently, locally, also in phase 2, we should expect a lot more testing being done and a lot of contact follow-up. This is extremely important. Any individual who has been diagnosed with positive will be interviewed as to who he or she may have had contact with, and we will attempt to locate those people and interview them. The person that they may have been with will not be divulged. That will be kept confidential, and the people who have been contacted with that person will be asked to go into self-quarantine for 14 days. Also, in testing, the saliva test is beginning to be more accurate than the swab tests, so we assume we'll see a lot more of that, and they're also in the process of developing a home kit for self-testing that can be sent in. All this is in progress. Some recent things we've done here in the city is, as announced last week, we've opened our parks for walking and jogging and tennis. And we also, just recently on the 27th, we opened our ball fields for practice only. And we anticipate being able to go to competitive play on or about the 5th of June. But our ball parks are open for practice now. Our Civic Center remains open for business. And also, I should point out that the President has declared worship facilities as essential and directed that they be opened. Everyone should continue to wear a mask in public, and everyone should continue personal hygiene, social distancing, and restrictions on occupancy in whatever facility they're in. Businesses can get more information or details on things that might be a little different in Phase 2 by contacting the State Office of the Fire Marshal. And that web address is Office of the State Fire Marshal at opensafelouisiana.gov. I think that's correct. Yes. And also our fire department can assist with helping you determine occupancy limitations. And I'm sure the chief can expand on that when he makes his remarks. Businesses and church employees who work with the public should have face covering or cloth masks. And with the exception of gaming establishments, no business or church is required to register to be open. However, it is strongly recommended to receive more information, more current information, and more accurate information. Our access to City Hall and city facilities has gone well. We continue to temperature check all of our employees, and we urge the citizens to schedule appointments with the city. And again, you can get those phone numbers from our website, which is www.bossiercity.org. And although it's not required, we encourage our citizens visiting us to wear a mask. It's important for all of us to remember that there are some things that regardless of what phase we're in, 1, 2, or 3, they must continue to be done. And we've heard it many times with those things. I'm going to repeat them again. It's continue to wash or sanitize our hands, avoid touching the face, sneeze or cough into the elbow, disinfect frequently used items and surfaces, wear face masks in public and mass transit. When you feel sick, stay home and contact and follow the guidance of your medical provider. At this time, I'm going to ask our 2 public safety department heads to make their remarks, and I'd like to ask the Chief Zagone to come up at this time.
Good morning. Once again, I don't want it to go unsaid. Thank you to all the first responders, healthcare providers, and the people on the front lines in this fight. Our numbers of calls now have gone back to pretty much normal. We were down during the first of it, but now we're back to anywhere between 30 and 45 calls a shift for service. As far as what the mayor was talking about, we have helped any business that's called, and the phone number to fire prevention is 741-8704. We'll be more than happy to come out and help you with your occupant load if you're needing to figure out your 25% or even what your occupant load is from the beginning. We'll be more than happy to help that. We want to be business friendly and help in any way we can with that situation. That's all I have to report today, but I'll let Chief McWilliams come up and speak about the police department.
Thank you, Chief Zagone, Mayor. I would also like to thank the first responders and the medical people on the front lines. I'd also like to thank the citizens for their continued support and adhering to the guidelines that have been set forth by the governor's office and the presidential staff. I would also like to continue to encourage people, if they have any business that they need to conduct with the police department, if they can do it via telephone or through emails. We encourage that to limit the number of people that we come into contact with daily. I would also like to remind you that police reports can be obtained online. Offense reports can be obtained by calling 741-8605, and we can make arrangements to either have them emailed or mailed and make payment arrangements over the phone or either by email. I would also like to remind individuals that during this crisis, a lot of different scams have come up. If people call wanting personal information, don't give out any personal information over the phone, such as Social Security numbers, bank account information, anything like that. Do not provide any information such as that. Also, what we hope we don't see, but possibly we're going to see, is now some of the COVID funding that's being disseminated by the federal government is starting to come out in the form of debit cards. So you need to make sure you check your mail regularly and check and be looking for those cards, and make sure you check your mail regularly so nothing goes missing from your mail. And also, don't look at it and think it's just junk. Open it up, because my understanding, I haven't actually seen one, but they don't necessarily look like something coming from the IRS or the federal government. Once again, would like to thank you for your support, and thank you for your participation in our social distancing. And I'll turn it back over to the mayor at this point. Thank you, sir.
In closing, I want to point out a few things that I think we can expect in the future. The good news is the trend lines are continuing to go in the right direction, and the governor commented yesterday that things he considers they're going pretty good, even though we had a little spike after Memorial Day. Things are going good. So when the governor makes his remarks next Monday on June the 1st, I suspect that he is going to either state or allude to the fact that we will, in fact, meet the criteria to go into phase 2 at that time, and we would anticipate a proclamation on or about the 5th of June, institutionalizing that. Also, that in June, I understand the testing in the state is going to increase to about 500,000 per day. That's a tremendous lot of tests. I previously mentioned that the saliva test is going to be used a lot more because of its accuracy, but on a sort of a negative note, a very respected publication has said a severe global recession is unfolding with an impact on the business it's not unexpected. It is a global thing and something that we're going to have to deal with. And as more states ease social distancing, we got to be prepared for a potential rebound of the problem. So some of the things that were noticed on TV was obvious that a lot of places are not adhering to the requirements of social distancing and not wearing masks. So it remains to be seen, but one might suspect that we're going to see a bounce of some sort after witnessing those lack of following the guidelines that have been established federally and locally. We're going to be dealing with this a long time, ladies and gentlemen. I want to again thank all of the citizens of Bossier City for their proactive involvement. Relatively speaking, our statistics are low, and that's attributed to you citizens and all of us doing what we should do. It's all of our personal responsibility. This problem is going to be with us for a long time, and we just cannot let up on it and assume it's going to go away. We've got to continue to take the preventive actions that have been recommended. Our next scheduled briefing will be next Thursday, the June the 4th, and we will see you then. Thank you.